Okay, good. All right. Guys, thank you so much for coming. Welcome to my first ever Loan Depot Lunch and Learn. So today I wanted to talk to you guys about closing costs because I feel like it is I don't want to look at myself. Who am I going to look at here? There we go, look at this. I feel like it's the biggest question that people ask me when we're talking to them about when I'm in the pre-approval process with them. So I'm going to attempt to share my screen with you. I know you're all going to ask me if they can have the slides. The slides are really just so that I have something, you guys have something else to look at besides me. So there's really nothing to passing the slides on. But I thought, let me share my presentation with you, how I go over closing costs. That way, you guys will know how to talk to your sellers. All right, so let me pull that up. Document. If my screen freezes, I apologize. All right, OneDrive. All right, we're just talking. We're not going to share the screen. All right, closing costs. The first thing I tell people when they're buying a house is that their closing costs are going to equal about 3 to 5% of their closing costs. In the beginning of the conversation, we don't really know what the closing costs are going to be. So I explain that to them. I will tell them, closing costs are broken into 4 categories. So you might want to jot this down. These are the 4 categories. Number 1, the lender fee. So, and this is exactly how I present it to a buyer. Your lender fee, if you use Loan Depot, the lender fee is $1,100. That is if you are buying a $1 million house or a $100,000 house, it's always going to be $1,100. Now, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes brokers have a broker fee. If they're going with a different broker, depending on who they're going with, they have to check and see if there's a broker fee. Also, sometimes there are lenders who charge a percentage origination fee. For example, if you go to CHAPA, they are going to charge 1% of the loan amount, regardless of the loan amount. So that means on a $300,000 loan, if they are getting a CHAPA loan, they are paying $3,000 no matter what. Loan Depot's $1,100, CHAPA's $3,000. So you can see where it depends on the loan program. Second thing, when you go to a big banks like to charge origination fees and lender fees. So this is why they need to kind of look at your loan estimate and see exactly what is being charged so that you can compare apples to apples. Loan Depot's $1,100 includes the underwriting fee and the processing fee. Now in New York, which is a whole nother game, New York charges an application fee. So sometimes the closing costs can be a little bit higher in New York depending on the lender. Loan Depot, $1,100 flat. All right. Number 2 category, attorney fee. Attorneys charge in Fairfield County, attorneys are somewhere between $800 and $1,200, depending on how much work is involved. Now, a lot of times I'm only seeing one piece of it. They're charging $1,200 for the closing, but they might be charging extra if they're also handling the sale of their house. So as the lender handling one piece of this puzzle, I only know one portion of that number. So that is something as a realtor you might want to be able to discuss with them. I encourage them to, side note, I'm amazed at how many people do not know what the attorney fees are when we have an accepted offer. That is something you guys want to discuss with them, like at the pre-approval stage. Here are my 3 attorneys, talk to them, interview them, find out what their fees are. Because I don't know what their fees are until we're like 2 weeks into this process. And they're not real quick about giving them up to me. So, all right, so attorney fees. Now, in New York charges the attorney fee plus they charge a bank fee. So in New York, you're somewhere between $1,000 to $1,500 for the regular attorney settlement fee who drafts the contract. Then you also have to have the bank review fee. So when you turn in that, another $1,000. All right. So any questions so far? Lender fee, attorney fee. We're only on one side of the loan estimate. Okay. No questions? Thumbs up. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Still hear me? All right, good. All right. Number 3, third-party fees. These are my favorite because I have the least control over these. Third-party fees include the lender, which orders the appraisal. So the appraisal is a big one. No matter who they go to, they're paying for an appraisal. A single family or a condo is $475. Multifamily is $675, and a rental loan is like $875. And the lender orders the appraisal. The credit report is still a third-party fee. Whoever the credit bureau is that is being used, they're going to charge the lender 20. I've seen it as high as $50. Loan Depot, 20 bucks. But it could be as high as $50 for the credit report, paid at closing. A flood certification, it's like $5. And what I do have for you guys is a form that you can actually use with your buyers. It's called What the Heck Are All These Fees? So I actually have it and I label everything out so you guys will know what this is. So if you're missing some of what I'm saying, I'll have them spelled out for you. Then we have a tax service fee. That a tax service fee is what the town charges the lender to make sure that the taxes are paid. That's like 70 bucks. Okay. Then we have the attorney's third-party fees. Title insurance. Title insurance is the biggest expense next to the taxes. And guess what? I don't know what they are until we're like 3 weeks into the process. Generally speaking, on a $400,000 or $500,000 loan, title insurance is going to be somewhere between $1,200 and $1,500 bucks. It's based on the loan amount. So it's a number that changes. Let me see if I can share this again. Hold on a minute. Let me see if I can find this form. Document. Where is it? Come on. Stop. I hate that I can't get it. I tested it before. All right. Never mind. I can't get it. All right. So other third-party fees include the condo fee. So if they're getting a condo, the condo company charges for the condo questionnaire. They used to gouge people, but it's not as bad anymore. So it could be, I've seen it as low as $25 to as high as $250. So that is a fee that is charged to the lender, passed on to our buyers. So those are then third-party fees. So we got title insurance. Then you have lender title insurance. So in Connecticut, lender title insurance and title insurance are usually covered in the same cost. Now, sometimes the title companies will charge the attorney a title search. Sometimes they don't. So I will tell you, like Josh Gilman, Seth Arowitz, they don't charge for a title search fee. Some of them do. Some of them more, like Fairfield County, Westport, they charge for the title search fee. Some of them include it. So those are all things your guys need to know. The attorney fees, including title, could be, I've seen them as high as $3,000, as low as $1,500. So the attorney fees are can be quite a lot. All right, now the one I get the most questions about. What do you call it? Taxes and escrows. Now, in Connecticut, most towns here in Connecticut, you pay your taxes twice a year. June, or like July 1st and January 1st. So that means the taxes are due. If you close in May, you have to pay through June. In some cases, the town will make you pay the entire 6 months if you're closing right around that time. So if your closing is May 30th, they're going to make you pay all 6 months of taxes, plus the last couple of days of May. This is the hardest thing it seems for buyers to grasp, because they don't seem to understand how taxes work. Now, in addition to the 6 months that are paid, they have to pay 2 months to escrow. Now, think of an escrow as a savings account. That savings account is set up for them with they take 2 months of the taxes to set up this savings account, so that way 6 months from now when their taxes are due, they are now they're paid. So they get a bill from the town of Stamford that says your taxes are paid. Any questions so far? Wow, you guys are good, because your buyers ask me a lot of questions. This is usually a whole hour conversation when we're going through. And with your buyers, what I do is I will have like the preliminary conversation and tell them, hey, listen, I'm just going to give you the bird's eye view. Here are the 4 categories. As we get closer, I'll break them down step by step. And when I do my Facebook Live today, I'm going to kind of do like the quick bird's eye view. Then I'll give a little more detail. Then I'll give a little more detail. So it'll probably be like maybe a 5-minute, 10-minute presentation. I'm not going to give how much everything costs. I'm just going to kind of give an overview of the fees. I'm giving you guys a little bit more information. Good? Questions? Can you hear me? Thumbs up? You're there? Everyone's here? Paying attention? Good. Thank you. All right. Now, you know what? Hold on. I need to just grab my notes for this one. Just bear with me. I need to at least look at it. I want to talk about what closing costs are not, because I'm always amazed that people are like, wait, I have to pay closing costs? So let's talk about that. So, frequently asked questions. Sorry about that. All right, now I can see. Frequently asked questions. How much are closing costs going to be? These are the questions you guys are going to get. How much are my closing costs going to be? Rather than you guys going into the laborious task of explaining blow by blow like I just did, I would suggest your answer be real simple. Your closing costs are going to be about 3 to 5% of the sales price, depending on when we close. That should be a script you all memorize. Your closing costs are going to be 3 to 5%, depending on when you close. Like I said, if you close in June, if you close in January, they're higher than if you close in October or March. And then they'll say, well, they're going to say to you, well, what if I close in June? What if I close in March? Then you say to them, you know what? You can call Tammie and she will explain it to you, or refer to her YouTube video that will be posted later today. Another question, what are junk fees? I just had a refinance client ask me this. Are these all junk fees? What is a tax service fee? What is this condo fee? I don't understand all this. There are no junk fees anymore. It's illegal to charge a junk fee. Back in the day, pre-2008, I used to charge a PIA fee. If you want to try to guess what PIA means, that's what I used to charge. Because those clients that would call me at 8 o'clock at night, I used to charge them extra. It's illegal to do that. So there are no junk fees anymore. Number 3, big question. Can I roll my closing costs into the loan? The answer is yes and no. So technically, no, you can't. The lender will not, no lender will allow you to finance the closing costs. However, the way around that is to inflate the sales price and give them a seller's concession, which is a whole nother class. But that is the way to finance closing costs. So yes, but no. Does that make sense? Right? Does everybody get that? And then my favorite, because then they start asking this one too. When am I going to know what my final numbers are? When am I going to know, Tammie, I just signed the loan application. When will I know what my final closing costs are? I will say that since we've had digital marketing, we're able to get the final closing costs pretty tight within about 2 days of closing. But for the most part, you won't know what your closing costs are going to be until the day before or day of closing. I wish it could be different. I really do. A lot of it depends on when we get the final figures from the attorney. The attorney's going to get the final figures from the seller's attorney. So right now, we're at a spot where we will know the final numbers what I do differently and what most lenders do, we try to tighten those numbers up as best we can and really have them solidified so that they're close by the time, they're close by the time they get to closing. All right. Wait, there's another screen that I want to share with you guys. Hang on. All right. Closing cost misconceptions. I'm sorry that I keep moving. I got to get the hang of this better. All right. The closing cost misconceptions. Number one, the lender determines the closing costs. As you guys just saw, I have a very small portion of that. The next question that they'll usually ask me is, well, how do I get paid? So a lender gets paid, me specifically, probably most of us, I'm sure Westport's probably the same. We get paid on commission. We are paid when the loan closes based on our volume for the month. So all of my loans are added up, and then I get a commission based on that. It is not based on the fees. It is not based on the interest rate. It is based on how many loans, how much volume I closed. So if I closed $1 million of loans that month, my commission is based on that. I don't, okay, next one. I just heard this weekend. Wait, I have to pay closing costs too? Oh, you still there? Are you there? Alice, did I lose you? Or are you just doing, oh, okay. By the way, I absolutely love your virtual screen. So I have, wait, I have to pay closing costs too on top of my down payment? Yes. Your closing costs include, when I'm going through your cash to close, includes your down payment plus your closing costs. And the way I explain it is, it's not, oh, someone else talking. John, please mute. Oh, I guess we hear something. All right. Okay.
And you can mute people if you want.
So closing costs are the down payment plus the closing costs. That's your cash to close. And most of you guys are aware of this. It's not all paid at one time. So first, you do your 1% deposit. Next, you do your home inspection. Number 3, you pay for your appraisal. Number 4, at contract signing, you put down either all or most of your down payment. Then at closing is when you pay most of it. So by the time you get to the 5th point, you've already written out almost half the checks. So you write one more check at closing. Next misconception, I thought the closing costs were paid by the seller. And this, I still get this a lot, especially on government loans. VA loans and FHA loans, people think the seller's gonna pay their closing costs. Make sure you guys tell them in the beginning that they have to pay closing costs. Know that when I talk to them, I already went over it with them, but it doesn't mean they're gonna remember, because it's a lot and sometimes it gets scared by them. And then, let's see, misconception number 2, this, which I just said, no, misconception number 4, closing costs can be financed into the loan amount. They cannot be financed into the loan amount. The trick around that is to do a seller's concession. So that is basically it. That is the drinking closing costs, taking a sip of water through a fire hose. It's very overwhelming for people, and it's a lot to try to get them to grasp. And as a lender, I go through closing costs with them probably 4 or 5 times before we actually get to closing. And then even the closing disclosure can be confusing for them. So I figure if you guys have an idea of what closing costs are, you can help me and we can try to change the conception of that. Stop. Any questions? You guys still with me? Does somebody have a question there?
Tammie.
You can put them in the chat box.
Can you hear me?
Anyone?
Can you hear me?
Guys gotta have some questions.
Hello.
Is everybody still with me?
Does this work?
Oh, good. You're all still here. So that's basically the gist of closing costs. And that's it. Unless you guys have any questions, I'm good. Chris has a question. What were the 4 categories?
Microphone
okay, good. I will give them again. 4 categories. Number 1, lender. Number 2, attorney. Number 3, third party. Number 4, taxes and escrows. Those are your categories. And if you missed any part of this presentation, please feel free to join me on Facebook Live today, where I will go into more detail. Do you have a cheat sheet? I do. Always have a cheat sheet. Yes. My cheat sheet basically breaks down loan depots and gives the definitions of them again. So this is how I have the conversation. It's, hi, congratulations on your accepted offer. Have you spoken to your attorney yet? No, you haven't. Okay. So let me just give you a ballpark idea of what your closing costs will be. Your loan amount is about $400,000. So your closing costs are going to be anywhere from $12,000 to $15,000. Their response. Okay. That $12,000 includes the lender, the attorney, third party, taxes and escrows. Your out-of-pocket fees will include the appraisal and the homeowner's insurance. Your inspection is not part of the mortgage fees. So that's another, I should add that. Home inspection is separate from the mortgage, but it is an out-of-pocket fee. That's where I'll go and I'll break down what's due and how it's due. 1% at accepted offer. Appraisal fee, a portion of, if not the whole down payment, a portion of the down payment at contract signing, and then everything else is paid at closing. And then I will break down each thing and give them a blow by blow. Some people don't, like RDs, they don't really need the blow by blow. I kind of give them as much information as they want. Some of our attorneys, our engineers, our finance guys, they want the details, so I will break them down and give them all the details. All right, anything else? More questions? Chat, type them in there. You guys good? All right, so my ask for today is, if you have any clients who are thank you, Tam. Oh, you're welcome, Charlie. Thank you for joining. Do you guys have lunch while you're doing this? Are you actually eating, or are you doing other things? I love that you're all wearing hats and headphones. So now I like your headphones.
Can I ask you a question, Tammie?
All right, guys.
Tammie?
I will, if I forget to send you guys the breakdown, you can't hear us. No, some of you I can't hear. I'm not sure why.
I want to ask a question.
This is helping me man the fort. Some of you are muted. Silva has a question. Go ahead, Silva.
Can you hear me?
I don't know why I can't hear you guys. Silva has a question. Silva, go ahead, type your question. She's trying. I don't know why I can't hear you.
I will ask you, but you cannot hear me. How do you...
Adonis, do you know why they can't hear me? Is it me?
Yeah, I think it's on your end, Tammie. It's your network bandwidth is having a challenge.
Go ahead, Silva, I'm listening. Or Silva, text me because it's on my phone, so it'll pop up on my phone too.
It's a long question. It's a...
Who's all here? Wow, I got a nice turnout.
Yeah, Silva, I think you're better off just calling her because she's having a challenge.
I really
No, but I wanted everyone to hear it.
Adonis, if you can hear this, will you do me a favor?
Can you put it in the
on
chat?
My phone. I'm here. Can you take a picture of everybody so that I can post this, so I can let Loan Depot know that I did this lunch and learn? Yeah, Silva, go ahead, put it in the chat. Everybody smile for the camera for Adonis. Thank you.
Can you hear, Silva, can you hear me?
All right, so I know you guys can hear me. I don't know why I can't hear. Oh,
Silva,
prepaids, okay.
We'll write it down for you.
Yeah, that's a good question, Silva. Prepaids and reserves, okay.
She'd write it, okay, never mind.
So prepaids, I lump that in with the taxes and escrows because if I break this stuff into too many categories, the people get crazed. Yeah, they do. That's why I break it into the 4 categories. Because if I tell them their closing costs are $14,000, they're like, so that's why I break it into the 4 categories. So the prepaids I include that in the taxes and escrows. Prepaids are per day interest, which depends on when you're closing. If you close on the 10th of the month, you're going to pay 20 days of interest. If you close on the 20th, you're going to pay 10 days of interest. So usually I'll go into detail about that as we get closer to the, that's right, Silva, perfect. Good question, by the way. I will go into that once we get closer, because then they're going to see it on the loan estimate. So I'm against calling. Yeah, that's why I break it down the way I do, because closing costs, it sounds scary. And they think $14,000 when they're paying, you know, $20,000, and now they're thinking they're only paying $20,000, and now they're actually paying like $35,000. It can be a little much. Adonis, thank you. So the prepaids I include in the taxes and the escrows in the 4th category. So again, I'll repeat the category so you guys have it. Lender, attorney, third party, and taxes and escrows. And then if you stick to those things as realtors, lender is the first one. Yep, lender, attorney, third party, taxes and escrows, which would include the prepaids. Perfect. You guys, thanks so much. I'm so glad so many of you joined. Reserves. Oh, that was your other one. Silva, about reserves. Reserves are not required on every loan. That's why I don't include it in the closing costs unless it's something that's specifically going to pertain to them. The only time we see reserves be an issue is when they are getting a jumbo mortgage or if they're getting a multifamily. Then they have to have reserve. If they own other property. Those are the 3 times. Jumbo, they're buying a multifamily property, or they already own other properties. Then the rule of thumb is 2 months reserves per property. And that's not money they need to spend. That's just money they need to show. Does that answer the question? Perfect. Good. Thank you. All right, guys. Anyone else? Yes? No? Good? Oh, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. And I'm going to take this opportunity right now to tell Rick and Steve, because I know this is being recorded, how much I truly appreciate being included in this stuff. Because I'll tell you guys, this would be very lonely without all of you. So I'm so grateful. If you have any other questions, send me a message. Follow me today. Follow me today on Facebook. I'll be doing this class again about 3 o'clock, and I'm going to kind of go through it, but it'll probably be a little quicker. All right, that's it. Adonis, take it away. I'm not sure. Do I just leave? Whatever.
Just leave. Okay.
All right, guys. Have a great day. Join 3 o'clock is the next class, I think. Bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.